Your calendar may be giving a more honest answer about your purpose than your prayers, your intentions, or your long-term plans. You say the assignment matters, yet another week passes without touching it. You stay busy, answer messages, attend meetings, solve emergencies, and carry everyone else's demands. By evening, you are exhausted, but the work you believe you were called to do remains untouched. Then you make the same promise. I will begin when life becomes quieter. But life does not become quieter by accident. It becomes ordered by decision. Perhaps your problem is not that you lack passion. Perhaps you do not lack time. Perhaps you have simply never given purpose authority over your schedule. Because anything that cannot govern your time cannot consistently shape your life. There is a time for every purpose. That means purpose does not belong only in your heart. It requires a place in your week. It needs preparation. It needs repetition. It needs an appointment. There is a difference between admiring a calling and practicing one. Admiration speaks about what could happen someday. Practice prepares today. Admiration produces excitement. Practice produces discipline. Admiration keeps the assignment in your imagination. Practice puts it on the calendar and completes the responsibility. Here is the truth. A calling that never changes your schedule remains an aspiration. You may believe in it. You may pray about it. You may even tell others about it. But visible obedience begins when what you claim is important receives protected time. Think carefully about the last 7 days. If an impartial observer examined your calendar, your conversations, and your hours of greatest energy, what would that person conclude governs your life? Would they see your assignment or only your interruptions? Would they see intentional progress or constant reaction? Would they see stewardship or scattered attention? This is not a question of shame. It is a question of truth. Your calendar is evidence. It reveals what receives your attention, what survives inconvenience, and what repeatedly receives your life. But that evidence can change. You can move from assignment to priority, from priority to protected commitment, and from protected commitment to a weekly review that produces correction. You can stop waiting for purpose to fit into your life and start arranging your life to support your purpose. But before the calendar can be corrected, the assignment it is meant to serve must become clear. Clarity must come before scheduling, because purpose is not the same as activity. Activity tells you what you are doing. Purpose tells you why it deserves your life. You can work hard and still be working in the wrong direction. You can fill every hour and still leave your assignment untouched. When purpose is unclear, every invitation appears important. Every opportunity looks like destiny. And every successful person tempts you to change direction. You begin many things, finish few things, and call the movement progress. But movement without direction is only motion. Scripture teaches that many plans may occupy the human heart, yet it is God's purpose that endures. That means your life cannot be governed merely by what excites you today. Excitement can attract you to an opportunity, but purpose must decide whether it belongs to you. Imagine two people with equal enthusiasm. The first chases every promising idea. This month, one vision. Next month, another. Every trend changes the plan. Every opinion alters the course. And every difficulty becomes permission to start again. The second person chooses the assignment already entrusted to them. They learn, prepare, serve, and improve. One remains fascinated by possibility. The other becomes faithful in responsibility. The difference is clarity. Now make this practical. Write one sentence that answers 3 questions. Whom am I called to serve? What contribution am I responsible for making? What kind of person must I become to carry that responsibility well? Your sentence might not explain your entire future, but it should clarify your present obedience. Purpose can remain constant while its expression changes. The assignment may be service, but the role can change. The mission may remain, while the method, pace, and immediate responsibility adjust with the season. Do not confuse a changing method with a changing purpose. And test what you write. Does this assignment agree with your faith? Does it honor your present responsibilities? Does it serve people rather than merely impress them? Can it be pursued with integrity? Does it require you to become more disciplined, trustworthy, and mature? If your statement ignores your character, your relationships, or the obligations already in your hands, it is not yet a trustworthy guide. Personal excitement is not enough. Purpose must be aligned with truth, service, responsibility, and stewardship. When that alignment becomes clear, discipline changes meaning. Discipline is no longer punishment, it becomes protection. You know why you must decline certain invitations. You know why preparation matters. You know what your sacrifice is preserving. A vague calling cannot govern a calendar, but a clear assignment can judge opportunities, organize decisions, and direct your energy. Once the assignment is named, it must be translated into a small number of priorities that can receive time. Purpose gives direction, but priorities establish order. And without order, even worthy responsibilities begin competing with one another until the loudest demand wins. You may care deeply about your relationship with God, your family, your growth, your work, and the people you are meant to serve. But care alone does not determine what receives your best attention. Priority does. So ask yourself, what are the 3 to 5 responsibilities without which my assignment will weaken? Perhaps you must protect spiritual formation so your inner life can sustain your public work. Perhaps you must care for your family, develop a gift, create something valuable, serve a community, or manage essential administration. Name the responsibilities. Do not leave them floating as good intentions. Then give each responsibility a visible weekly result. Do not write, develop my gift. Write, practice this skill 3 times. Do not write, work on the message. Write, complete the first draft. Do not write, be more present with my family. Write, have 1 uninterrupted conversation and 1 shared period of rest. Clarity produces accountability. There is a difference between activity and outcome. You can spend hours near the work without advancing it. You can research endlessly, rearrange materials, answer minor questions, and still avoid the decision or deliverable that matters. Time invested may demonstrate commitment, but completed preparation, meaningful conversations, and finished responsibilities reveal progress. Now assign every priority a minimum weekly commitment. Decide the least amount of faithful attention it must receive to remain alive and moving. If it depends on spare time, it will be sacrificed to pressure. If it depends on emotion, it will disappear when you feel tired. And do not call everything a priority. If everything is first, nothing is first. Determine what must be protected, what must be maintained adequately, and what can wait during this season. Order is not disrespect. Choosing one responsibility first does not mean the others have no value. It means you understand sequence. When a new opportunity appears, test it. Does this advance an entrusted responsibility? Does it maintain a necessary relationship? Or does it merely satisfy pressure, curiosity, or the desire to appear important? Here's your practical step. Create a weekly priority card. At the top, write your 1-sentence assignment. Beneath it, list the few responsibilities that govern this season. Beside each responsibility, write 1 measurable result that would demonstrate faithful progress by the end of the week. Keep it simple. Keep it visible. Let it challenge every request and guide every decision. Purpose becomes practical when it can tell your time where to go. With your intended priorities now visible, you are ready to compare them with where your time is actually going. Now you must face the evidence of the week you actually live, not the week you intended to live. Memory is generous to intentions. It remembers what you meant to do and minimizes what distracted you. So do not begin with guilt, excuses, or impressions. Open the previous 7 days and examine the facts. Place your major blocks of time into 4 categories. First, time that advanced your assignment. Second, time that maintained essential responsibilities. Third, time that genuinely renewed your strength. Fourth, time that leaked away without producing service, restoration, or meaningful progress. Be honest about the leakage. A notification becomes 20 minutes. An unscheduled conversation consumes an hour. A low-value meeting occupies your clearest thinking. Entertainment continues without a boundary. Perfectionism keeps you polishing what was already sufficient. Worry repeats the same problem without making a decision. Habitual availability teaches everyone that your time has no protection. None of these moments may appear destructive by itself, but scattered minutes become abandoned priorities. Urgent matters announce themselves. They arrive with pressure, noise, and somebody else's timetable. Important work is often quieter. Prayer does not force you to stop. Preparation does not send an alarm. Growth does not demand an immediate reply. The important can wait, but when it waits too long, neglect eventually becomes a crisis. This is how reactive living develops. You begin the day without a plan. You answer whatever speaks first. You postpone concentrated work until later. Later arrives when your energy is gone. You finish exhausted, call the day busy, and promise to recover tomorrow. Then tomorrow repeats today. Now, this audit is not an accusation against legitimate responsibility. Your family may need you. Your work requires faithfulness. Emergencies happen. Service sometimes interrupts convenience. Purpose does not make you unavailable to love. It makes you discerning about distraction. Ask yourself 3 questions. What received my best energy? What repeatedly displaced my stated priorities? What did I claim mattered but never schedule? Then compare significance with allocation. Perhaps spiritual formation matters deeply, yet receives only leftover attention. Perhaps your family is central, yet receives your physical presence without your focus. Perhaps your assignment requires preparation, yet your strongest hours disappear into messages and minor requests. That difference is your alignment gap. Do not attempt to repair everything at once. Identify the largest recurring mismatch. Name the pattern that most consistently steals time from what matters, and choose that as your first correction. Your calendar is not exposing you to shame you. It is giving you evidence. And evidence, faced honestly, becomes a tool of stewardship. You have completed the diagnosis. Now, diagnosis must become designed by building a week in which the most important responsibilities receive appointments before pressure arrives. Begin with reality. You are not a machine, and purpose does not cancel responsibility. Your week already contains worship, family, employment, health, sleep, rest, and promises that must be honored. Put those fixed responsibilities on the calendar first. A purposeful week is not built by pretending limits do not exist. It is built by stewarding those limits wisely. Now place your highest purpose commitments into the open spaces before optional demands occupy them. Do not write "work on my assignment." Give the commitment a day, a starting time, a duration, a location, and a defined result. Tuesday, 7 o'clock, at the desk. For 90 minutes, complete the first draft. That is a commitment. Sometime this week is a wish. Match demanding work with your strongest available energy. If your mind is clearest in the morning, do not surrender every morning to messages and give your assignment the exhausted remains of the evening. Protect your best strength for the work that requires your best thinking. Then decide the first action before the appointment begins. Open the document, review the notes, make the call, practice the first exercise. When the starting point is clear, you remove another opportunity for hesitation and leave margins. Preparation takes time, travel takes time, closing the work, recording decisions, and resetting the space take time. If you schedule every commitment against the next one with no room between them, a small delay will become a broken day. Contain the smaller tasks. Give messages, errands, routine calls, and administration limited windows. Small responsibilities are necessary, but they become dangerous when they fragment every hour. What is contained can be managed. What is allowed everywhere will interrupt everything. You must also schedule renewal. Rest is not irresponsibility. It is stewardship of the person carrying the assignment. Sleep, reflection, worship, movement, and undistracted time with people you love preserve clarity and strength. Do not wait until your body and relationships force you to stop. Imagine a busy parent with a full-time job and a meaningful assignment to teach. They cannot devote every day to preparation, but they can protect 2 early morning study blocks, 1 weekend writing period, a family evening, regular worship, and sufficient rest. They can place administrative tasks into 2 short windows and leave 1 open block for delays or genuine needs. That week is not empty. It is ordered. Add buffer time because interruptions will come. A wise schedule does not collapse when life behaves like life. Flexibility is not the absence of structure. It is structure with enough humility to accommodate reality. Now inspect your calendar. Does every governing priority have a protected place? Is the time long enough to produce its measurable result? Have you included relationships, renewal, preparation, and margin? If not, the design is incomplete. Purpose should no longer be waiting for whatever remains. It now has an appointment. But remember, a well-designed calendar only creates opportunity. Only self-government can turn that opportunity into consistent action. When the appointed hour arrives, your feelings may disagree with your calendar. You may feel tired, uncertain, distracted, or simply uninterested. That moment reveals whether the schedule is governing you or whether every passing emotion still has authority to rewrite your decisions. Self-discipline is the ability to govern your behavior in agreement with your assignment when comfort points in another direction. You made the appointment in a moment of clarity. Do not surrender it casually in a moment of discomfort. If every mood can renegotiate your commitments, your purpose will never receive consistent service. Motivation may help you begin, but motivation is an unreliable manager. It rises when the vision feels exciting and disappears when the work becomes ordinary. Consistency carries the assignment through both kinds of days. It works when the audience applauds and when nobody notices. It works when progress feels dramatic and when progress looks like one quiet, completed responsibility. Make beginning simple. When a protected block arrives, remove the distractions. State the intended result. Take one concrete first action. Then remain with the work for the time you assigned. Put the phone away. Close what does not belong. Open what you need. Begin. Your mind may offer resistance. Fear will tell you the work will not be good enough. Comparison will show you somebody who appears further ahead. Emotional fatigue will ask for relief before responsibility. The desire for immediate reward will tempt you toward whatever is easier. Listen carefully. Those feelings may be real, but they are not always instructions. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. Scripture compares a person without self-control to a city with broken defenses. A city without protection is open to every intruder. In the same way, a life without discipline remains open to every notification, impulse, opinion, and appetite. Discipline protects the gates. It decides what enters, what leaves, and what receives your strength. But discipline does not mean perfection. If you miss a purpose block, do not turn one failure into an abandoned week. Identify what happened. Was the time unrealistic? Did you fail to prepare? Did a legitimate emergency intervene? Reschedule the work deliberately, then repair the system. Correction is stronger than condemnation because correction returns you to responsibility. Faithfulness grows through small appointments kept repeatedly. Every time you honor one modest commitment, you build reliability, you strengthen capacity, you develop confidence. You demonstrate that greater responsibility will not be wasted in your hands. Choose one recurring purpose appointment now. Decide that for the next 4 weeks, you will keep it whether anyone applauds, notices, or understands. Let that appointment become evidence that your calendar is no longer decorative. It is becoming disciplined practice. But consistency requires more than showing up. It also requires protecting the assignment from commitments that do not belong in the week. Every yes spends something. It spends time. It spends energy. It spends attention. And because those resources are limited, every yes also reduces what you can give somewhere else. That is why saying no is not always rejection. Sometimes it is stewardship. If you have already committed time to prayer, family, preparation, health, or meaningful service, protecting that commitment is not selfish. You are guarding a responsibility already placed in your hands. You are refusing to let pressure decide what purpose has already ordered. But wisdom is required, because not every interruption is the same. Some requests are true emergencies and require immediate care. Some are essential responsibilities that belong to your role and must be honored. Some are valuable opportunities that genuinely support the assignment. Others are optional demands that can be declined, delayed, shortened, or delegated. The problem begins when you treat all 4 categories as equally urgent. Do not answer every request in the moment it arrives. Pause, review the calendar, consider the cost. Ask, if I accept this, what existing responsibility will receive less of me? Pressure wants an immediate answer. but purpose deserves a considered one. And when you must establish a boundary, do it with grace. Acknowledge the person. State the commitment you have already made. Offer an appropriate alternative when one exists. You might say, I appreciate you thinking of me. I already have a commitment during that time, so I cannot take this on. I can respond next week, recommend someone else, or help in a smaller way. Clarity does not require hostility. You do not need a long defense for every responsible decision, but guard against both extremes. Indiscriminate availability will destroy focus, yet rigid isolation can turn purpose into an excuse for neglecting compassion. People are not the enemy. Service is not the enemy. Even an interruption may reveal a moment when love requires your presence. Discern it. Some interruptions are assignments. Some expose boundaries you failed to establish. Others belong in the buffer you wisely created. Maturity knows the difference. Be especially careful with attractive opportunities. Something can be good, visible, flattering, and still be wrong for your present season. Not every open door belongs to your assignment. If accepting it repeatedly stops the work already entrusted to you, the hidden cost may be greater than the public reward. Now create a stop doing list. Name one recurring distraction you will restrict. Name one unnecessary obligation you will leave. Name one task you will delegate, reduce, or complete more simply. Do not measure only what an opportunity gives you. Measure what it interrupts. Many unfinished priorities are not evidence of insufficient time. They are the price paid for unnecessary commitments. Wise exclusion protects completion without producing guilt, resentment, or hardness. Yet protected time must still serve the whole life. Your calendar must now reflect stewardship across responsibilities, relationships, and changing seasons. Purpose must not become an excuse to neglect the rest of your life. If your visible work is growing while your character is weakening, your family is being ignored, your health is collapsing, or your promises are being broken, that is not mature stewardship. Your life is not one project. It is a collection of entrusted responsibilities. You have an assignment, but you also have relationships to honor, a body to care for, an inner life to cultivate, and commitments that reveal whether your words can be trusted. Calendar alignment must protect the central work without destroying the foundation that enables you to carry it. This does not mean every responsibility receives equal time. Equal value is not equal allocation. A deadline may require additional focus this month. A child, an aging parent, or an ill family member may need more of your presence in another season. Recovery may temporarily require a slower pace. A transition may demand extra planning. Wisdom recognizes seasons. The expression of your assignment can adjust without the assignment disappearing. You may reduce the duration, change the method, or narrow the weekly outcome while remaining faithful to the direction. Temporary limitation is not permanent abandonment. You must also learn to share responsibility. Doing everything personally is not always evidence of commitment. Sometimes it is evidence that you have not developed trust, systems, or people. Delegation can release time for the work only you can do while giving someone else an opportunity to grow in reliability. Imagine an ambitious leader whose calendar is filled from morning until night. The main project advances, but messages remain unanswered. Family conversations are hurried, sleep is reduced, and administrative work follows them into every quiet moment. They call it dedication, but the whole life is becoming unstable. Then they make a correction. They protect 3 focused work blocks instead of allowing the project to occupy every hour. They delegate routine administration. They schedule an evening of undistracted family presence. They restore regular rest and spiritual reflection. The assignment does not weaken. It becomes sustainable. Look at your calendar and ask, is this schedule producing only output, or is it also producing the maturity required to carry influence? Is it strengthening reliability? Is it protecting the relationships that must survive your success? Is it preserving the health and clarity needed for long-term service? Stewardship is not measured by how tightly you control every minute. It is measured by whether the time, strength, relationships, gifts, and responsibilities entrusted to you are being directed with wisdom and integrity. A balanced calendar does not sacrifice purpose. It protects purpose from the damage caused by imbalance. But no weekly design survives unchanged. Therefore, Stewardship must include a regular moment of truth, learning, and correction. A calendar can be carefully designed and still encounter a difficult week. Meetings run long. Energy changes. Family needs arise. A task requires more time than expected. This is why stewardship cannot end with planning. It must include review. Set one recurring appointment before the next week begins. Find a quiet place. Open your calendar, your priority card, and the work you produced. Treat this review as the control point where purpose and time are brought back into agreement. Begin with evidence. What did you complete? Which purpose blocks did you keep? Which did you miss? What interrupted them? When was your energy strongest? What new commitments entered the week after it began? Then examine each governing priority. What was supposed to happen? What actually happened? What visible result was produced? Do not hide behind excuses, but do not ignore useful explanations. An excuse avoids responsibility. An explanation helps you redesign wisely. If you missed a block because you kept choosing entertainment, confront the choice. If you missed it because of a genuine family emergency, acknowledge the reality and adjust the next week. Honesty and compassion can work together. Ask 5 questions. What advanced the assignment? What maintained essential responsibilities? What restored my strength? What repeatedly stole time? What must be corrected now? Keep the measurement simple. Mark every priority as kept, partially kept, or neglected. You do not need a complicated system. You need a truthful one. Then make one concrete correction. Move the focus block to a stronger hour. Shorten a meeting that regularly expands. Strengthen a boundary around messages. Delegate an administrative task. Reduce a recurring distraction. Prepare the room or materials before the appointment begins. Vague regret changes nothing. Specific correction changes the next decision. And be careful with unfinished work. Do not carry every incomplete task forward automatically. Ask whether it still serves the assignment. Some work must be rescheduled. Some must be simplified. Some no longer belongs in the plan. If you keep transferring stale obligations from week to week, your calendar will become a storage place for indecision. Also recognize what went well. Celebrate the appointment you kept, the distraction you resisted, the conversation you honored, and the missed block you responsibly recovered. This is not pride. It is evidence that consistency is being built. But do not let one successful week convince you that discipline is no longer necessary. Success must be stewarded too. Finally, define the next week's measurable outcomes. Place their appointments on the calendar immediately. Confirm the time, duration, location, first action, and required margin. Now the loop is complete. Assignment becomes priority. Priority becomes commitment. Commitment produces evidence, and evidence produces correction. The weekly review is not a courtroom where you prosecute yourself. It is a stewardship practice where truth teaches you to act with greater wisdom. The framework is now complete. What remains is one immediate decision that proves purpose will govern your next week. You now have the framework. Clarify the assignment. Name the governing priorities. Protect the commitments. Exclude what competes. Review the evidence. Correct the next week. But knowledge is not stewardship until it becomes action. Return to the question that opened this message. If someone examined your next 7 days, what would your calendar say truly governs your life? Would it reveal purpose or only pressure? Would it show deliberate obedience or another collection of good intentions? Do not wait for a calmer season. Do not wait for stronger motivation. Do not wait until everyone understands your decision. Life will always contain demands, uncertainty, and competing voices. If purpose must wait for perfect conditions, purpose will wait forever. So before this day ends, choose the governing priority you have neglected most. Open your calendar and give it an appointment. Choose the day, choose the time, choose the place. Protect enough space for meaningful progress. Then define the result. What must be completed, prepared, practiced, decided, or discussed before that appointment ends. Make it measurable so you will know whether the commitment was kept. Now identify one optional demand that will not be allowed to displace it. Perhaps you will delay a response, decline an invitation, restrict a distraction, or move a minor task elsewhere. Your yes to purpose must be supported by a responsible no. Write this declaration. I will no longer admire an assignment I refuse to organize my life around. That calendar entry may appear small, but it is evidence. It shows that you respect what has been entrusted to you. It demonstrates readiness. It turns conviction into responsibility and responsibility into visible obedience. You are not merely trying to become more productive. You are becoming trustworthy with time. Stop becoming the person who speaks passionately about purpose but repeatedly gives it leftovers. Become the person whose priorities can be seen, whose commitments can be trusted, and whose repeated use of time makes the assignment visible. Your future will not be built by one emotional moment. It will be built through disciplined weeks, one protected appointment, one completed responsibility, one honest review, one faithful correction at a time. Put the calling on the calendar today, then keep the appointment.